Hello guys, this is FK. So around I think it was early May or probably late April, there was this buzz online about some young chap that came and said he was able to master 15 languages or 15 frameworks. I think he was 17 years old. I said he was able to master 15 languages and 15 frameworks. Probably within the space of 2 years or so, he was able to master all these programming languages or frameworks or whatever he was calling them. And so while some were praising him, you know how Twitter will always be, there will always be two sides. So some were praising him and some were scolding him. And I think for me personally, I think the whole thing was just a matter of exposure, but I'll speak more on that later. But today I want to talk about something that has been a question that's been going on around the developer space for a while, and the tech space generally. And that is, should you build your core skills first or build a brand immediately, or start building a brand immediately? Should you build your core skills first? Go and do monk mode, live monk life for a life for like 3 or 5 years. Build your core skills very, very well before you ever think of building a brand at all. Or should you be building a brand while you're also growing your skills? And my answer lies in what you perceive a brand is. Like, what do you think a brand is? What activities do you think constitute building a brand? Now, if what you call building a brand is simply sharing your work and your progress as you build and learn, then I'll say, yeah, sure. If you have the time, as you're growing, as you're building your skills, share it. Yeah, share it, post it online, post your project, post the languages you're learning, post the new concepts you've learned, and it will be of great benefit to you. In fact, it will give you visibility for people that might want to engage you for your skills. So yeah, if building a brand to you means I'm sharing my work, I'm sharing what I'm doing, honestly do that. Share your victories, share your pains, share your struggles. Even if you get an award, share it. But if building a brand means that you are creating an image of reputation, trust, and authority in the subject matter, then Biko, build your skills first. Yeah, build your skills first. Build that authority first. If you are still a learner, it is not the time to be building an image that represents trustworthiness or authority. No, it is not the time. If that is what you mean by building a brand, then go and make sure that you have been tried and trusted. Go and make sure that you have been battle tested before you come publicly and say you want to build an image of trust and authority. A brand without battle tested skills, emphasis on battle tested, is most likely going to be labeled as a fraud. Yeah, it's most likely going to be labeled as a fraud. I used to say something. That if you appear before your time, you will disappear in no time. Let me repeat that again. If you appear before your time, you are going to disappear in no time. And there have been so many cases of such kind of people. They busted out, they started shouting themselves, they started claiming they are an authority, and they turned out to be frauds, and they are nowhere to be found today. There are so many cases. I'm not going to mention any, but most of you know about some of the people that I'm talking about. I have seen programmers being arrested. I have seen programmers being arrested. In fact, there was so many years ago, someone wanted to arrest me. That because he felt his app was not fine enough. He felt that my CSS was not tapping enough. And it turned into a serious thing. It turned into a serious issue. And he was talking about calling the authorities and stuff like that. He was making those kind of threats. They can arrest you if you go and collect people's money. Claim to be what you are not. Collect money and do a job that is subpar, you will find yourself in trouble. Build your skills well. Go and get tested on real life projects. Fail, refail, succeed before you start calling yourself a professional. Go and work on real life projects that people are using. I'm not talking about projects that you and your friends are testing. I'm not talking about hobbyist projects. Projects that are being used in the real world, projects that are being used to do probably like a student registration for a very big school, that are being used to perform financial operations, that are being used to do large volumes of e-commerce operations. Go and get tested on those projects. Go and fail on those projects. Go and learn on those projects. Go and receive instructions from people that are your seniors on those projects, and get your wins from those type of real life experiences before you come out and say you are building a brand, a name, an image of authority and professionalism. Now you might ask, so how do I know that I've built my skills? How do I know that I've built my skills to a level where I can start building a brand? Okay, yeah, I get it. Let me know that brand, meaning image of authority or image of professionalism. What do I do to know that I've built that kind of cachet of experience, and I can come out and boldly say, yeah, I'm a professional in this, and people can actually believe me for what I am doing? Now, I'm going to give a few pointers. These are not rules, they're just pointers from my own experience. And if you have some of these, you can also come to the comment section. If you have your own ideas, you can come to the comment section. The first I'm going to mention is that make sure that I've said it before, make sure that you have built real life software that people are using, that people are depending on for their business, and preferably with a large volume of users. Internal tools, e-commerce applications that loads of people are using, financial applications, those kind of applications. Make sure that you have worked on those type of applications before. Like I said, it is not hobbyist projects that you and your friends are playing with and testing. No, it's not projects that you use to have something on your portfolio. No, real life projects that people spent money on, and they are waiting for value from those kind of projects. For example, I once worked on a project for the National Body of Accountants in Nigeria, and they had almost 100,000 users, and they had like these peak periods where everybody will be paying for registration, paying for conferences, paying for stuff like that. Yeah, those type of applications. Now, have you worked in a team for an extended period of time to ship real products? Have you worked in a team before? See, no matter how much solo experience you have gotten, if you don't have team experience, there are some things you don't know. Yeah, there are some things you don't know. No matter how wonderful, how superstar, how rock star you have been as a solo developer, if you have not worked with a team before, like you are part of a team, there are some things you've not learned. Yeah, there are some things there are some collaborative skills you've not learned. There are some dependency management you've not learned. There are some communication skills that you have not learned. There's a lot of things. So make sure you have worked in a team. Make sure that you have worked with a team. You have learned both the technical skills and the soft skills to be able to function within a team, and make sure that you've done it for an extended period of time. I'm not saying that you and your friends hung out in a weekend and built something on a Saturday. No, you have worked with a team. You guys were supposed to build a project. You built it for at least 3 months. That's the kind of experience I'm talking about. Another thing is this: have you been tasked with improving one or more applications over and over again based on user feedback? Like, you didn't just build the version 1 of an application. Either they brought you in, or you are the one that built the application from scratch, and they keep collecting user feedback and reiterating on the application, keep improving the application. So you built something once and you came back to come and change a bunch of things. Probably they used it for 6 months, then you got user feedback and you have to change a bunch of things. They use it for another 6 months, you got user feedback, you have to change a bunch of things. Because some people just have in their portfolio projects they just built once. Oh, I built this fancy thing, and they just put it there, put it out there. A lot of people don't know how to change features in their application. If you start telling them to change features in their applications, the kind of side eye they'll be using to look at you, because they have built this house of cards that is not maintainable. Even they know that their code is not maintainable. So once you tell them, oh, why don't you just shift this thing here? Oh, this thing that processes 5 items, why don't you just make it process 10 items? They start feeling uncomfortable because they have not built their projects, their softwares in a maintainable manner that they can always go back to it and change things based on user feedback, based on client feedback. So have you worked on those kind of projects before? Projects that you maintained for, let's say, 2 years, and they kept coming back with feedback, and at certain intervals you are releasing new versions of the software itself or changing certain features within the software. Do you have such kind of experience? Okay. One other thing. Have you been brought into an existing code base before? Not only you've been building so far, you're building from scratch. You're making your own decisions, building from scratch. Have they brought you like, oh, we've been building this application has been existing for the past 2 years. Come and enter this code base that you knew nothing about people that built it. In fact, the previous programmers are no longer around. Come and look at this application and help us improve it. Have you worked on legacy code before? Have you tried to maintain and improve legacy code before? To get those kind of experience that would help you to know that you are battle tested in different scenarios of software development. Have you had such kind of experience? Okay, I'm sure you know what the answer is. Also, like I said, these are all still my opinions, but this is like my 14th year developing applications, so I think I have some level of one of my favorite basketballers, Shaquille O'Neal, calls the G4 classification. The G4, right? G4 classification. Yeah. So I think I have G4 classification, whatever that means, to be able to tell you some things for a fact. You should have worked professionally for at least 3 years. You should have worked professionally for at least, not for yourself, not working for yourself. You should have worked for people, a firm, preferably a company. Whatever type of company they are, you should have worked in their IT space, or maybe it's an IT company itself. You should have worked there for at least 3 years. Daily building software and shipping products. Yeah, you should have worked for that long. Then you can come out and say, yeah, I now want to build a brand. I want to build a brand of authority. I want to build a brand of professionalism. I want to build a brand of pedigree in my field. It's not about, oh, I read a lot of stuff and I read 3 programming. I now know 5 programming languages. I now know 7 programming languages. It's not about that. Anybody can pick up a documentation and read stuff and claim that they know Laravel, claim that they know PHP, claim that they know Go. It is with this experience that you will know, that you will have been tested to know if you have the authority to be able to make such kind of pronouncement. Now, back to the guy that, like I said, I think he's 17-year-old. Back to the guy that said he learned 15 languages. And he's 17, and he said he already knows 15 languages. Later he came out to say, oh, some of them are frameworks and all that, blah, 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 blah. We all know the discourse that went on that. Now, we've had similar kind of people come out, similar young chaps like that come out, and some of them have turned out to be a bit inexperienced. But for me, I think this type of guy is a victim of what I call dangerous non-exposure. Dangerous non-exposure. Now, it is very dangerous not to know what you don't know. They say that there are things you know that you know, there are things you know that you don't know, and there are things you don't know that you don't know. So this guy and some other people like him are most likely victims of what they don't know. You see, I used to think I knew CSS until 12 years ago. I was working in an IT firm and I couldn't keep up. In fact, I thought I was very good with CSS. And my boss told me one day, Fikayo, you don't know CSS. Like all this thing you are doing, it just shows that you don't know CSS. I felt very disappointed that day. I was angry with my boss. I went home angry. But I took it as instruction to go and ground myself in CSS, and I leveled up. When I say leveled up, I leveled up big time. And I started meeting up in that company, and when I left that company, I was doing well. I started my own private practice, and I was doing fine. Until I felt I've mastered CSS. I felt I'd mastered CSS, just like the guy said. The teenage boy said he had mastered all these frameworks or languages. I felt I'd mastered CSS until I was watching a front-end master's course by Estelle Wild, and she was teaching CSS, and I felt stupid. I looked stupid. This lady was saying things I had never heard before. She was doing things like in the realm of magic with CSS. And then I knew that I still had a lot to learn. So you see, your perception of mastery, your perception of mastery is very, very tied to your level of exposure. It is very tied to your level of exposure. If you have not been exposed to see how the depth of your skill, you would think you've already arrived. You would think you've already gotten there. So instead of proclaiming yourself as a master at something, why don't you seek out what more you need to learn? What I used to do back then is that I would just go and listen to talks on the skill I have. Let's say I'm trying to see how good I am at Golang. I'll go to Google and find one of these conference talks on Golang. That's how back in the day, that's how I discovered that there was a framework called Angular when Angular 1 first came out. That's when I discovered that there was a framework called Angular. Then I was using a framework called Backbone. I think I was using Backbone. That was how I discovered that there was something called Angular. Then later React came out. Find more exposure. Because you see, if you're always the smartest in the room, then those are rooms you need to get out of. Because there's nothing that you're going to learn. That's all I have to say on this issue of mastery. Not mastery, skill or brand. You should build strong skills first before thinking of building a face or an image of authority to the public. I remain your bro in tech.